Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. We're excited you are here. I am Dr. Emily McRoberts-Froese, and I serve as the Senior Education Leadership Executive here at Jamf. And I am joined by Tracy Joy Joyce.
Hi, everyone. I am Tracy Joy Joyce. I am a sales engineer here at Jamf on the EDU side of things, and I'm super excited to talk to you today about future-proofing your iPad management.
If you're wondering if you should be here, if you do anything in the world of instruction or information technology in your school district, you are in the right place. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee or a fresh glass of water and hang out with us for the next couple of minutes. In our time together today, we are going to discuss the challenges that schools face over time, policies that may or may not be in place. Um, we're going to talk about safety and we're going to talk about classrooms and maximizing the long term investments you've made in your technology deployment. So, with that, Tracy and I are going to take turns kind of having a conversation and sharing our latest and greatest news with you. So, when you're thinking about device deployments, really devices don't fail, but deployments can drift away from the original intent. And so, what we want you to make sure you're doing is thinking through that initial phase of your deployment and also what comes towards the end of the life cycle. So, we know that the original team that comes up with the deployment plan with deploying devices in the instructional spaces, teacher training, all of the work that goes on behind the scenes to get those devices into kids' hands. We know that teachers shift, leaders shift, goals and objectives shift. But the one constant is those devices stay in those buildings and in those classrooms. So we want to make sure that you build a sustainable model, document what your model and your intent is, make sure that you have it all documented. So anybody who is new or roles change, all of that work is documented and you can use it moving forward. We also know that curriculum shifts. We know that instructional practices need to be updated and you plan for the kids that you're given every year. So we know that there are changes along the way that need to happen. We hope that your standards don't change much. You might have to tweak some of the verbiage, but keeping in mind the original intent, your content, just the experience of that end user stays consistent throughout the use. We know in the initial phases of a technology rollout, sometimes you have a bucket of money that is larger in the start. And as you grow in the technology use and you may grow in your population, you may add teaching units. We know that those budgetary dollars sometimes aren't available. So, really being mindful of that growth and an opportunity in your initial phases of planning will help you in the long run. So, just really pay close attention to the projections of your enrollment, of your students, of your educators, just being really mindful of where you want to take your technology integrations as budgetary dollars may or may not be there in the future. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I really love that term deployment drifts because I don't think that anybody ever sets out to have a plan that is unsustainable, but life happens and things change, and we really have to be thinking long term to understand truly what future proofing means. So, our definition of future proofing involves these kind of four buckets. We want to make sure that the devices are reliable, safe, and instruction ready. Despite of anything happening in the background, despite of that, the staffing or learners or expectations or curriculum or budgets, the most important part is that your devices remain instruction ready. That can be really difficult to do if you're not looking at the long term and like Em said, planning for the long term. The second thing that we focus on is teachers being empowered. So we want simple, effective tools that really, really work, that are going to make the life of a teacher easier with minimal disruption to the learning of the students. And we have great tools that help out with that. Our Jamf Teacher app is key in helping that teacher feel empowered in their classroom to make sure that the devices are used in ways that are suitable for the learning in their classroom. Our next bucket is making sure that our devices are safe everywhere. You want to make sure that you are protecting your students, your end users, wherever they are, whether that is on campus or off campus. And we need to make sure that we're doing that without restricting the creativity and the device functionality. Students need these to learn, and we want to make sure that they have the full breadth of tools available to them, but we can do it and monitor it in a safe way. And the last quadrant in our future proofing bucket is creating that plan that is sustainable. We talk a lot about if something should happen to the main admin, we want to be sure that others can pick right up and take over if they need to. And with our tools, we have made it very simple for the everyday admin to hop in and be able to support the fleet and continue to manage and secure them and make them ready for teachers and students no matter what. So, how are we going to do this? There are some things that you can do within your Jamf school environment that are going to allow your teachers to feel supported when they're using their devices. And that would be with policies. These are just an example of some of the policies. There are a lot more, but putting your devices into assessment mode or single app mode for those times when you need focused attention on a particular app or a testing situation, you can create a policy that you can assign to devices. Maybe it's just during standardized test time. You can also make those policies available in the My Resources section of the Jamf Teacher or Jamf Student apps so that teachers and students can download those policies in a just-in-time manner when needed. There are also some really amazing restrictions that can be made in Jamf Teacher when it comes to spell check or limiting the functionality of a device. There are also time-based restrictions. So when it comes to making policies in Jamf School, you can create different policies for school time versus home or after school hours. For example, in my old environment, we used to block certain websites during the school day. But after school, when students are learning or there is an activity going on, we can change that policy so that students would be able to access certain websites in an after school activity or after school care or something like that. So time-based restrictions is a really great place to start too. And lastly, I'm really excited about how we are embracing the new Apple workflow of declarative device management. By leveraging that, it really helps the IT people, the people in admin who are pushing out these policies or making these restrictions, kind of have a set it and forget it mentality where you know that the result is going to be some kind of consistency between devices. And if you haven't yet accessed Blueprints in Jamf School, for those of you who are actually using it, please give that a look because there are a lot of amazing workflows and things that you can control using and leveraging that declarative device management workflow. So, speaking of, why does this declarative device management matter so much? Well, it actually shifts the responsibility of making changes to the device itself. So instead of IT having to push out changes and check in with that device and make sure that the device is doing what it's supposed to be doing, the device itself gets the message and it understands, oh, okay, this is how I should be configured. And it will just report back when that configuration has changed. And this means that your devices fall into line or have faster compliance. You're going to get fewer tickets and you're going to get fewer hands-on management of those devices. And all of those little things add up to a lot of saved time for our admins. And for those of you who want to check out Blueprints in Jamf School, just scan this QR code and it will take you to the documentation to show you how to do that in your own instance. Highly recommend it. It is the future and it's something all of us are really excited about here.
Thank you, Tracy. I think one of the biggest things for me as a parent and as a former middle school administrator was ensuring that kids were safe while online and using school issued devices. So, one of our solutions that we offer here at Jamf is our Jamf Safe Internet. And some of the things I love about Jamf Safe Internet is it's specifically built for education. It is an education specific content filtering solution with threat protection at the device level. It will be on the device whether the device is on or off campus, and there's no slowing of the device when it's running in the background. It's like having your own little personal security guard on your device at all times, whether you're in a classroom or at home doing homework with your family. It's always there in the background, keeping you as safe as humanly possible.
Oh, and the other thing I might add is Safe Internet is really simple to set up. You do not need to be a security expert to set up Jamf Safe Internet. In fact, there are what I like to call easy buttons. If you just click 3 buttons, you know that your devices are going to be safe from all of those typical unsafe content that we don't want our students to be accessing. But you can make it as robust and as personalized as possible. And with Safe Internet, there is a very silky smooth interaction between Safe Internet and Jamf School. So I would encourage, if you haven't yet checked it out, it is truly a game changer for those devices to make sure that they are safe, especially right now when we know how many different bad actors are out there trying to infiltrate our devices, especially those of our students.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tracy. And I love that you touched on ease. Another community that we really want to empower with easy tools is our parents. Using Jamp Parent at home to help manage those devices when they come home, right? Your student's device is managed while it's at school, and teachers and educators are able to whitelist apps and be intentional about building experiences. Well, this is something that extends to home. If those devices come home, as a parent, you can download Jamf Parent from both the iOS App Store, or if you have an Android, you can do it there as well. And this will give you the power to manage those devices when they're in home. If your son or daughter comes home and says they don't have homework, you can manage that device and streamline their experiences. You don't want them to have social media on that device when it comes home. You can manage that from the ease of your Jamf Parent app. So, highly, highly recommend turning this on. I know I use it for my child, and it has helped with screen time and distractibility when that device comes home. So, check it out.
All right, so this leads us to the classroom. And as former classroom teachers, we know that if the tech isn't working, it can be very easy for a teacher to give up. And I've been there, it has happened. And we need those teachers to understand that they have the power in their hands. They are empowered to teach their lessons, to engage with their students in ways that are focused and ways that make it easier for the learner to stay within scope of what we're trying to teach them. In the Jam Teacher app, this is the perfect way for teachers to create those boundaries. I like to think of it as like when you're bowling and they have those little gutter rail things to keep to keep the bowling ball from going in the gutters. This is kind of like the same thing, but it's for your iPad. Teachers can make sure that if it's math time, only the math time apps are going to be showing. Only the websites that I want my students to be going to are uploaded and allowed during that math time. Again, I talked earlier about the restrictions. You can turn on and off spell check. You can turn on and off AirDrop. You can turn on and off the camera if you want to. You can also, this is so important, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, when we are able to communicate directly with a student, but in a more discreet manner. So you can check in with students by the little button there, and that will allow you to send a message to a student to check in with them, or a student can check in with you and maybe ask for clarification on something or to report something that they need to let their teacher know if they're struggling in a certain area. But this allows for that communication. Even if you have iMessage turned off for your fleet, this allows that message between teacher and student, only teacher and student, not students and students, but allows them to have that communication. And then the Jamf Teacher app also allows for teachers to kind of bundle up these restrictions, bundle up these apps, these websites, these restrictions in what we call lesson templates. Those lesson templates can also be shared among other teachers so that you can create that collaboration between teachers. If you have a group of math teachers or even a group of second grade teachers or your high school science teachers, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to launch these kinds of restrictions or apps or website allowing. So we talk about all these things because the impact that we have seen on learning and behavior is tremendous. There are fewer disruptions. There are more learning time, more time for those students to be spending in actual activities that are furthering the learning outcomes. And there's less IT involvement. There's less of that real time, oh, I got to pick up the phone, call somebody in IT to come to my room and fix something. All of these things come together to provide a very smooth and focused learning experience for our students and our teachers. So, when I first started working in schools, I remember getting a cart of iPads, and I had to literally touch every single iPad every time I wanted to make a change. And it's excruciating. And I know admins out there who go through this and understand how important it is and how helpful it is to be able to manage your devices remotely. And with our zero touch deployment, now, zero touch doesn't mean you don't have to power it on. You do have to power it on. But you can set up those devices, you can update those devices, you can update the apps on those devices. You can take a look at where those devices are. You can do some troubleshooting on those devices remotely. Our tools are all cloud-based, so you can manage your devices from wherever it is that you need to be doing it. And this helps to remove some of that repetitive work, and it frees IT to focus on strategy, partnering with all those other different key stakeholders in your schools, and not just putting out fires throughout the workday, which I know a lot of people fall into the here and now, what's right in front of me. Our hope and our goal with this future proofing is that you can see how you can create this strategy, embrace some of these tools so that you can sit back, take a breath, and think about not just fighting the fire right in front of you.
All right. So circling back to kind of that intentional design and budgetary conversation that we started with, we know that you've got to get the maximum value out of your devices. So with features like return to service, which allow you a fast and secure redeployment of those devices, is huge. This allows for minimal downtime between users and gets, that next user up and running and engaged in that instruction that much faster. Again, keeping the devices safe and secure and offering a consistent setup every single time that those devices are deployed really extends the life of those devices. So if you're like me, as a former public school administrator, you know the value of a dollar and you know how you can conserve that and use it to its fullest potential. So just really being mindful of the capacity of your management solution and the devices you're using in your instructional spaces is key. Here at Jamf, we really look at the ecosystem as starting with the absolute best device for the learning outcome here in the middle, and then going out, making sure that your management is in place. You're using and have access to the right management tools and engaging tools here for parents and teachers and educator. And then also Apple Classroom is a great complement. If we were in person, I would ask you to raise your hand and ask you if you're using Apple Classroom. But Apple Classroom is a great complement to our Jamf Teacher app. Apple Classroom allows you to see what your kids are doing. You can actually see the screens of the devices your kids are on, which complements the Jamf teacher. Like Tracy described, educators are able to set up that lesson, whitelist apps, send you directly to resources and to make sure that students are focused on that learning. And so educators are able to then spot check if they need to with using Apple Classroom. Again, empowering the learning environment using a multitude of apps. We've got a few listed here. Obviously, your instructional needs are going to leverage other tools, but again, that is another layer of that whole ecosystem experience. And then everything that Tracy and I have been talking about with that secure piece, just making sure that your little security guard is employed and engaged on the back end of those devices, keeping your network safe, your kids safe, your educators safe, just really honing in on that security posture there. Knowledge is power. We want to encourage you out there to take a look at some learning opportunities that are no charge to you, only your time. Apple Teacher, Jamf Educator, both two great certifications that you can earn by completing some sessions, some learning sessions, and a few little Q&A pieces.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to pop in here and just share that QR code for the Jamf Educator portal as well, so people can have that handy if they want to share it with those teacher-facing people that they have on staff, or if they have high-flying teachers that they want to introduce to Jamf Educator. All of this is completely free. You only need to create a Jamf ID in order to get access to it, and like you said, they get a little badge at the end.
And then accreditations you can learn through Apple with the Apple Learning Coach, and then ultimately becoming a distinguished educator. Highly recommend you look into those. You become part of a community. You can become part of a community where you meet like-minded educators and trade, trade secrets and tools and things you're using in your instructional spaces. So highly, highly, highly recommend getting engaged and getting plugged into not only these trainings, but these communities. So with that, you start to see a lot of pieces come together. Tracy and I have done a couple of webinars, and a few of our colleagues have been doing webinars over this past year, and you should be able to find those with just a click of a button in our webinar series. But we've talked about all of these updates. Today we touched on this parental support. We've talked about workflows. Tracy touched on zero touch deployments today. She was very excited about DDM and blueprints. We are all very excited about DDM and blueprints. I highly recommend you check that out. Automated updates and app installers also key in keeping a seamless workflow going in your instructional spaces. Again, looking at that privacy, Jamf Safe Internet, mobile device management solutions as a whole, really looking to keep your network and all of your humans safe with their tools in their hands. And then just some updates that we have provided this year as recently as JNUC, right, Tracy? We announced some of these at JNUC.
Yep, we sure did.
And with our acquisition of Identity Automation this year, we have added some more solution pieces to our tool belt. So stay tuned for future webinars and future offerings from our team. So we are so excited that you joined Tracy and I today in our conversation and really talking through the stepping stones of purpose behind your deployment, having planning behind your deployment, being aware of all the safety and security tools that we have within our solution, and how it impacts your classrooms. So we're going to be sticking around and taking Q&A after this presentation ends. So feel free to jot down your questions in the Q&A, and we will answer as we are able. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you, everyone, and we'll stick around for any questions.